Greetings, friends. Today, we are going to be talking about those bastions of defense, the holy knights known as champions. So, sit down, relax, and Italo, roll the intro. Now, the champions are basically, as I said, a holy knight. They are the best class at defense in the game. They are the only class that becomes legendary in their armor proficiencies. They start being trained in all armors, and if you want to play a true defensive tank, it is the champion that you are after. They have awesome abilities to make sure the enemies only go after them, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but they're an incredibly versatile martial class. And you're never going to be dealing like huge amounts of damage, except there are ways to build yourself so you can go after undead and fiends and other things like that. So it's quite possible that you can get up there in damaging very specific types of enemies. Not to say you're bad against other things, but you're very kind of middle of the road. You're not going to be dealing like, massive damage like the barbarian or, getting these crits all the time like the fighter does. But you are a very, very steady class and very dependable. So the champion, they begin with, standard proficiencies for simple martial weapons. They get 10 hit points. They, as I said, they're trained in all armors. One of the key things the champions get is the champion's reaction. All champions get them. Now, champions are truly designed to be tied to the alignment, which is interesting because in the second edition remastered, which comes out in just a few months after this video releases, they're doing away with alignment. Now, they're going to have what are called tenets that, there are ideals that you follow. They're still going to be good ideals. So even though the alignment is not there in name, it's going to be there in practice. So the champion's going to be going through a few changes, but I think it's going to be a good change overall because I think sometimes people focus too much on the alignment of the champion, of this is how they want to play the character, and don't want that particular alignment, so they go with a champion more suited to what they want. This way, it doesn't matter how you want your character to behave. You can kind of go with either these good tenets if you're going to be more of a neutral or good champion, or there are the evil tenets if you're going to go that route. Overall, I think a very positive change, and I'm excited to see it. Now, the champion's reaction is the bread and butter of your class. First of all, no matter what you choose, if it's on the good side, you're going to get what is called Lay on Hands. It is an ability to heal 6 points of damage to the target, and they get a +2 bonus to the armor class if it is on someone besides yourself. That is very good, actually. Now, this is a focus spell, so you're going to have focus point. You can't do it like every round. It's basically only once per fight. This also means the champions are awesome at healing people outside of fights because this auto heightens and it's 6 every caster level, basically. So what are going to be called now spell ranks. So when you get to 3rd level, that becomes 12 hit points. And when you get to a 5th level character, that's going to become 18 hit points. So it scales nicely and great way for you to help get your team back to combat readiness. Let's go over the champion's reactions because, as I said, this is the foundation of the class. Now, you get like a name in old traditional TTRPGs. There's always been the Paladin. The champion has been known as the Paladin, and it's been tied to a very specific alignment, had to be lawful good. I'm not even going to get into what that is for those of you that don't know because it's going away, but it is very much like it sounds. You obey the laws and you're good. Kind of goody two-shoes, really. So that one is, they still have the term Paladin around. If you prescribe to these tenets, you are known as a Paladin champion. So this one is pretty good. And they're all good. They all very much do very similar things, but it's just depending on your play style. The Paladin, you get to block. If someone attacks one of your allies and they're within 15 feet of you, you can block that damage up to an amount equal to 2 plus your level. So, if you're a 3rd level character, you can block 5 damage, so on and so forth. If you are within melee reach of the enemy that made that attack, you also get to attack that enemy back. So it really focuses on making sure you get your character up into the fight. This is not a class that hangs back. Like, you are up in everyone's face. And if you're not playing this class correctly. This is like, you are going to have the highest armor. You are going to, be able to resist a ton of damage, heal yourself a little, or heal your allies. So this class is so designed into forcing enemies to attack you, and if they don't, you punish them. So the Paladin is a very good one. Next, we have the Redeemer, and I'm gonna say this is probably the best choice if you want to be a heavily melee-focused champion. When an enemy attacks an ally that is within 15 feet of you, they have to make a choice. If they hit and deal damage and you use your reaction, they must choose that either they inflict no damage or you reduce the damage by that 2 plus your level, and they become enfeebled too, which once they become enfeebled, it lowers their strength, they're harder to hit, they deal less damage. And that is only for a round, so it's one thing that is going to make them harder to be good enemies. Your GM is going to hate this one. And above all the others, this one truly makes the enemies focus on you, because it will drive your GM insane that they constantly have to make this choice of dealing no damage or less damage, and their monster gets penalized. So they're just going to gravitate towards you. Sort of a psychological thing. I see all the time the GMs are like, meh, whatever, the opportunity attack. I'm going to go for it. I still want to damage this guy, and you might not even hit, so I'm going to gamble with that. This one, no, there is no chance that one of these is going to fail. It does what it does. Incredibly strong option. Personally, probably my go-to if your desire is truly to direct all of the attacks at yourself. Finally, on the good side, we have the Liberator. This is a really fun one, and I kind of feel like it doesn't come into effect at lower levels as much, because what it does is when an enemy grabs you or tries to restrain you or immobilize you or paralyze you, you immediately allow the target to make an attempt to get out of this, whether it is a new save or attempt a skill check or whatever. They get to attempt to get out of it for free. And then, of course, you also give them that damage reduction for the attack that brought this about. Also, they get to step away as a free action. So if your enemy tried to do this and they do it, your ally can break free, they take less damage, and they can step away. Now the enemy's not even in range to make another attack, probably. So it's a very strong choice, and I feel people don't go towards this one at lower levels because there are less enemies that do these things at lower levels, because kind of designed that it's not fun for a player to have their character, be restrained or paralyzed. So they move these effects to higher levels when you have had time to build defenses against these things. So an incredibly strong option. They're all very good. It just depends, again, on your style of play. Now, we also have evil champion tenets, and these ones go a different route. If you are an evil champion, instead of lay on hands, you get what's called touch of corruption, and it's literally the opposite. You deal, instead of this positive damage that lay on hands does. Oh, and I forgot to mention, lay on hands also can be used to hurt undead instead of healing your allies if you want. And if you do that route, it gives them a -2 to your armor class. Touch of Corruption is the opposite. You can use it to heal undead or things that take negative healing, and then they get a +2 to their armor class. Or you can use it to hurt living things, dealing that 6 damage, and they take a -2 to their armor class. And also, when you do this damaging effect, they are going to get a saving throw, so basic saving throw, so you might have that damage. The damage itself is honestly pretty inconsequential. It's a single action. It's a way to deal some extra damage, which is great if you know you have an enemy that is very low on hit points and you don't want to risk making that attack that could miss. You can easily go to this, which is a save, and even if they succeed, they're going to take half damage. So you could easily kill an enemy. So don't discount it on that. But even on an enemy that's strong, they take that -2 penalty to their armor class for the round. So that's kind of a big deal and can be used to really help out your team. Now, are you going to be playing evil characters most of the time? Probably not, but hey, we're covering the champion. It's part of the champion. So the champion has the evil ones. They have also their own 3 different groups. And the first one is the Tyrant. I've seen more people play Tyrants than other of the evil champions. And again, I think it's just because of the gravitation towards that alignment. Tyrants are lawful evil, and people kind of feel like you can play a lawful evil character with a good group and easily justify it, where neutral evil and chaotic evil way harder. If you don't know about alignment, don't worry about it, because they're going away anyways. But the Tyrant gets what's called Iron Command. And this one is you basically take and you have the enemy has to make a choice. They're either going to get knocked prone or they're going to take mental damage. Most of the time I see people choose the mental damage because it's very little. So this one's okay. And again, there are so much feat support for the champions that we're going to kind of gloss over them. But there is so many ways that you can affect these abilities as they level up. It's very impressive. So sometimes you might look at these and go, that's not that great. But as you read and look further through the feats, you might be able to find some pretty cool options. After the Tyrant, we get to the Desecrator. Honestly, I kind of feel like the Desecrator is one of the more viable evil ones as far as ability. This one is very much like you get to give damage reduction to yourself instead of, you can't do it to anyone else. It's only when you get attacked, and you get to apply the normal damage reduction from the good champions. You get to apply that to you. Where the good champions, it's only other people. And that, again, this is how the champion works. They are designed to direct attacks at themselves, because if you're not going to attack me, you're going to deal less damage and you're going to take penalties. So that's a way to just, again, draw these attacks onto them. That's why they have a really high armor class. So with the Selfish Shield, that what they do is the trigger and damage, they get to reduce it by 2 plus half their level, where the good champions and to their allies, it's 2 plus their level. So you don't reduce it as much, but it is some kind of reduction. And then you get to inflict a little extra damage on them. It's evil damage, so only affects good things. But again, in the remaster that's coming up, that's going to be changing. And from everything that I've read, this type of evil damage, good damage, it's going to turn into a damage type that actually affects everything. It's no longer going to matter as much. I believe it's going to holy and unholy. And from what I've read, holy damage can affect, things because there's no alignment. I will probably simply not affect holy creatures, which there are going to be a lot less of. And same with unholy. It's not going to affect unholy creatures. Maybe I'm speculating. I probably should not do that right now. And last for our evil options, we get to the Anti-Paladin. They are, your kind of chaotic evil. No one really plays them that much because of this alignment restriction. Very difficult to play them in a group. Also, it's a horrible name. It is a holdover from traditional Dungeons & Dragons. There were paladins that were the lawful good, and then the exact opposite were the anti-paladins, the chaotic evil. So terrible name. Hope it changes. They get an ability called Destructive Vengeance, and if they get damaged by an enemy within 15 feet of them, they gain this ability that they can increase the damage they take by 1d6. And they deal 1d6 damage to the triggering enemy. They choose evil or negative damage to deal to the enemy each time they use this reaction. In addition, until the end of your next turn, your strikes against a triggering creature deal 2 extra damage of the type you choose. So they can get this either evil or negative damage. So you get to choose, so you will most likely be able to affect them with it. This one is, again, a so-so. You're kind of trading off this damage of I take a d6, they take a d6. So, it's okay. I kind of feel like that they included these, but were a little half-hearted in their design. And I don't know why. I think they could have done a little better job with them, but whatever. The champion truly does focus on the good side. Now, as you level up, you get what are your, at third level, you get a Divine Ally. You can choose a Blade Ally, which you get to add properties to your weapon attacks. It's a very small list. You can add Disrupting, Ghost Touch, Returning, or Shifting. So pretty cool, fun stuff to just get extra properties for your weapon. I think a lot of people go with this one. You get a shield ally, which increases the hardness and break thresholds of your shield. Most champions use shields. Truly, they are designed to use shields. In fact, there are feats you can take that you get to perform an extra shield block every round. You just get one extra reaction purely for shield blocking, which means you could shield block twice. This is huge, honestly. When you look at this, that ability alone, you're already focusing the enemy to kind of come after you. And if they do so, you can shield block. You get to use that free reaction, and then, oh, I've used the reaction. I can now go after an ally because the champion doesn't have the reaction. Well, you gained an extra reaction, so now you can use your champion's reaction still. So this is a huge, it's one of my favorite feats for them. And they get so many feat options for their shield. It is truly fantastic. They're one of the best classes at this. You also gain a steed. You can gain a steed ally. And it's basically an animal companion that is a mount that you ride around on. They can still fight and do the normal things for you. So again, any one of these three, they totally depend on what you want to do with your character. There is a lot of option. I kind of feel like the steed ally is probably the least picked, particularly in Adventure Paths by Paizo. I feel homebrew games kind of allow more opportunities for some of these things, especially, traveling over land and having these fights that might be in big open battlefields and mounted combat. I've noticed Adventure Paths don't do that a lot, and I don't know if it's, they don't want to get into how, because the rules for those aren't specific, so maybe they don't want to get into it. I don't know. Your champion continues down their levels. They get more abilities that affect their champion's reaction, and that's truly what the class is all about. That is their thing. That is what they are designed for. There are feats that you can get a few extra focus spells, but truly the champions, bread and butter is getting in there, drawing the attacks, and protecting their allies. And they are very good at it. I mean, better than anyone else by far, which is good. That's what the class is for. So when you want to make a champion, you want to get your armor class as high as you can. You want to find ways that you can also mitigate damage to yourself because you're drawing those attacks to yourself. So yes, you're harder to hit, but you are by no means impossible to hit. So you want to last as long as you can and draw those attacks to you because that's what you are all about. In fact, you should, at the end of a fight, you should be way low on hit points, but the rest of your allies are fine, which works out in the system because it's way easier to bring one character back up to full hit points than try to spread that around through everyone. That can take way more time. So as a champion, you truly want to get in there, and at the end of a fight, you should be very low on hit points. And that's fine because it's way easier for your group to heal one person back up to full than it is to try to heal several people that might be half or quarter or whatnot. And you're going to get crit a lot less because you have this higher armor class where, say there's a barbarian in the group, they're going to get crit way more because they have a much lower armor class. So you have so much going for you as a champion, and all of your abilities are designed for you to get in there, protect your allies, and take those attacks. So run with that. Do it. If you want to play a character that is just up there and can just outlast everything through punishment, this is the class for you. This is what you're going to want to do. And I kind of like the alignment change in that, how, you can play this champion and look at them more as a knight. And if you don't want to go so deep into the religious aspect of them, they're kind of making it a little easier to do that. But also, if you do want to go into the religious aspect, the removal of the alignments is going to open it up so you can choose so many more different gods. You can go towards the neutral gods and still pick these abilities. So overall, I think a fantastic change. Feats for the champions there are so many that just totally revolve around altering how your champion's reaction works. There are some that let you deal bonus damage on those attacks. There are some that just automatically inflict ongoing damage onto enemies, good damage for when they attack your allies. Extra damage versus fiends, so many things for affecting your shield to, free reactions to raise your shield, extra shield blocks, as I mentioned. There is a lot here. And again, I'm doing these, I'm not here to tell you how to play the class because I don't believe there are wrong ways to do these things. I think You need to look at how you want to play it. And, I'm here to give you the basic design of the class and how they are supposed to be effective. But, your campaign can be different from other people's. And this is something people need to remember when, if you go to the Pathfinder 2e's subreddit and that, all the time, oh no, you're doing it wrong. You need to do this. If it's working for you and you're having fun, you're not doing it wrong. There is no wrong way to do this. So a champion is a solid martial defender. And if your party needs a tank and you can deal, reliable damage, champion's awesome at this. They also later, can take attack of opportunity. They have so many great things going for them. And they are just these awesome characters that can just, come on guys, let's keep going. And they're the ones that are soaking up the damage for the most part. And yeah, they can just, champions are great, and every group should play with a champion. Problem is there's so many classes like that you'd have to have a group of like 12 people to do all this, but that would be insane. So anyways, I hope you have enjoyed our rendition of the champion and, kind of going over what they do. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe and, let us know your thoughts. I love doing these. I like talking to you guys about these things. So I have a lot of fun. I hope you're having fun too. And actually, my editor, Italo, says I'm supposed to remind you guys to like and subscribe like in the middle of the video. It's better for the algorithms and things like that. I forgot. So please, extra likes and subscribe. Steal your friends' phones. Go on here, like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble. So anyways, I hope you all have a great week. And as usual, game well, my friends.